Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Um, Make sure you hit that subscribe button, please, and hit that like button so that I can be able to grow. I will really appreciate your support, guys. Thank you. So today we are going to continue to talk about reproduction in vertebrates, which is a topic that most of the learners do not really understand, especially when it comes to the part of ovipary, vivipary, and ovovivipary reproductive strategies. But today I am going to provide you with a summary that is going to help you understand what happens in each of the reproductive strategies that I have just mentioned. Okay, so I am going to provide you with a summary that you can use in understanding these reproductive strategies. Okay, everyone, as I have mentioned, we will be looking at ovipary, vivipary, and ovovivipary reproductive strategies. However, before we can talk about those, let's just try to understand the difference between the two types of fertilization, which is which are the internal fertilization and the external fertilization. So let's just try to understand what the word fertilization means. So the word fertilization means the fusion of the nuclei of the male and the female gamete. Okay, so it's when the nucleus of the ovum fuses with the nucleus of the sperm cell in order for them to form a zygote. So it is the fusion of the um, a haploid nuclei of the male and the female gamete to form a diploid zygote. That's a more detailed explanation of what fertilization is. So if you use that one, yeah, somebody else is going to understand specifically what happens during fertilization. Okay, that's fine. We are going to look at this table over here, which provides us with some of the categories we can use in order to differentiate between ovipary, vivipary, and ovovivipary. So number one, we are going to look at the type of fertilization. Okay, so with ovipary, we can have internal fertilization, or we can have external fertilization. I just remembered that I forgot to differentiate between external and internal fertilization. That's fine. So with internal fertilization, it is the type of fertilization that occurs inside the reproductive tract of the female. Okay, so it occurs inside the female reproductive system. Like in us humans, it occurs in our fallopian tubes, which are parts of our reproductive system, or the female reproductive system. So that is where fertilization occurs, and it is an example of internal fertilization. But when it comes to external fertilization, it is a type of fertilization whereby a type of fertilization that occurs outside the reproductive tract of the female. Okay, so it's just the opposite. Like internal is the opposite of external, because we already know by the English meaning that internal means inside and external means outside. So internal fertilization, it occurs inside the female reproductive system, and then external fertilization, it occurs outside the female reproductive system. Right, so let's look at the type of fertilization in ovipary, vivipary, and ovovivipary. So number one, the type of fertilization in ovipary is it can be internal or it can be external. Okay, so we can have internal or external fertilization in ovipary reproductive strategy. Okay, so with vivipary, the reproduction is internal. No, the fertilization is internal. Okay, so you only have internal fertilization in vivipary. Then in ovovivipary, you are going to also have internal fertilization. So this brings us to the conclusion that only in ovipary organisms, that's the only reproductive strategy whereby external fertilization can occur, but with the rest it's all internal fertilization. Okay, so we will look at the number 2 factor, which is the laying of eggs. So in oviparous organisms or in oviparous animals, we have the laying of eggs. In other words, the animals that are oviparous, they lay eggs. For instance, the chicken, it does lay eggs, and then the frog, it does lay eggs. The only difference between a frog and a chicken is that with a chicken, it is internal fertilization, because you don't see the hen releasing the eggs, then later the cock comes and releases the semen so that the sperm cells can fuse with the ovum. No, all those things, they occur inside the reproductive tract of the female, like they occur inside the reproductive tract of the hen. So we don't really see it and say, here it is occurring, the fertilization is occurring. No. But then with frogs, I did see some frogs. I did see some eggs from the frogs, right? Like usually in streams, like they do release those eggs, and then the male ones will release the semen so that the sperm cells can fuse with the ovum, okay, or with the ova, so that a zygote can be formed. Okay, so basically that's the difference between a chicken and a frog, but they both lay eggs. That's the similarity. And then with vivipary and ovovivipary, we don't have the laying of eggs. As I have given the example of humans in vivipary, you know already by now that there is no laying of eggs. Like we don't lay eggs so that the embryo can develop outside the body of the female. No, the embryo develops while being protected in the mother's reproductive tract. And even with ovovivipary, you don't have the laying of eggs. All right. Then we will also look at nutrition. So nutrition with ovipary, the developing embryo will get nourished by the egg yolk. So it gets food from the egg yolk. Okay. So with vivipary, that we already know that the developing embryo will get food from the mother through the placenta. Okay, we already know that. If you have to think of vivipary, think of a human being. That's a very perfect example of vivipary. Okay, so think of what happens in a human being. Then with ovovivipary, the developing embryo gets nutrition from the egg yolk. So there's no placenta in ovovivipary. However, there is egg yolk that can nourish the developing embryo. So ovovivipary is standing in between ovipary and vivipary, because if you can check, the embryo develops inside the reproductive tract of the female, which is the same as in vivipary, and it gets nourishment from the egg yolk, which is the same as ovipary. So it is in between. It is in between. Okay, it is neutral, right? So these are the examples I have. So if you will name the examples here you can see it's a frog and it's a chicken. Here you can see the tiger, and another example is human beings. You can see the female here. So yeah, then here it's the sharks, like they are ovoviviparous. Okay, so yeah. So now we are going to look at a question relating to what we have been doing. So this is November paper 1 2022, life sciences. question 2. Okay, so you can just go and have a look at that. So reading the extract, it says that anchovy is a type of fish found in the Pacific Ocean. During the breeding season, the females and the males gather in large groups and release ova and semen into the water. Once fertilized, the eggs float in the water and embryonic development occurs until hatching. Okay, so this one shows us external fertilization because the eggs and the ova are released and fertilization occurs outside the body of the female. Okay, and it also shows us oviparous reproductive strategy because egg laying takes place and the developing embryo develops outside the body of the female. Then the northern pikefish is found mainly in rivers. During the breeding season, the female releases thousands of ova and male releases semen all around the female. The fertilized eggs attach to vegetation near the riverbed where the embryonic development occurs until hatching. The graph below shows the survival rate of both fish species. Okay, so let's look at 2.5.1. Name the type of fertilization that takes place in both fish species. So we have already seen that even with the northern pikefish, you have the release of the ova, then the release of the semen so that fertilization can take place. So they are both external fertilization. That's why it's even given 1 mark. And then explain why both fish species are oviparous. They are oviparous because remember that we said with oviparous reproductive strategy, there is a laying of eggs. Like if you will compare oviparous with the rest of the reproductive strategies, so they both lay eggs and the embryo develops outside the female reproductive system. So that's why they are oviparous. Okay, they both lay eggs and the embryo develops outside the female reproductive system. Explain 2 ways in which the chances of fertilization are increased in the northern pikefish. So number 1, we have heard that the northern pikefish, they release thousands of ova and semen. So that's how you can increase the chances of something happening. You know, when you want something to happen, like you can do it many times. Like you can try to contribute to it many times so that it can take place. So releasing thousands of ova and semen is a way that the northern pikefish species they try to increase the chances of fertilization taking place. Okay, then which graph X or Y represents the survival rate of the northern pikefish? Obviously, because the northern pikefish, you have the fertilized egg attaching to a nearby vegetation so that embryonic development can take place. It will be the one whereby the survival rate is high, and that's graph number X. So basically, graph X represents the survival rate of the northern pikefish species. So if you were to explain that, you would say that because the fertilized egg, after fertilization, like it attaches to, in northern pikefish, it attaches to a nearby vegetation so that the embryo can develop. So that thing acts as a protection for that developing embryo. It acts as a protection against the predators. So it will be protected from the predators, and at the end of the day, the survival rate is high. So that's just November paper 1 2022, and you can download it, and you can download the memo as well, and try to do more practice with the other question papers. I could only touch one question paper, and again Please guys, support my content, subscribe to my YouTube channel, give this video a like if you liked it, if it helped you, and share it with other people so that they can get the information too. So I thank all those who have been supporting me, viewing my videos on YouTube. I really appreciate it, guys. Please continue with your support, and I love you all. Thank you.